Good evening. Today is Thursday, May 8th, 2025. I'd like to call our regular City Council meeting to order. We will kick things off this evening with our opening prayer, led this evening by Pastor Andy Alberts with Tallmadge Lutheran Church. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's good to be with you tonight. Let's pray. Psalm 19, verse 1 says, "The heaven declares the glory of God, and the skies proclaim the work of his hands." We thank you, Heavenly Father, in this springtime of year for the new life, for the growth, for the colors of the flowers and the blooming trees. We thank you for the wonder of creation, that we may remember that just as Jesus died and rose from the dead, that he gives life to all who trust in him. We pray, O Lord, for the leadership here of Tallmadge, for Carol and Christine, for Jessica, Nick, Ted and Donald, Jonathan and Mary. Grant them wisdom and help them make decisions that please you. We also pray, O Lord, that you bless all who protect us, those who help protect and keep the law, those who take care of the sick. We pray, O Lord, for your blessing upon this city, for our leaders, that they may do your work, all for your glory. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
And I'll go ahead and lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next up, we'll take a roll call.
Jonathan Bolus.
Here.
Christine Sippa.
Here.
Jessica Epstein.
Here.
Mary Gutman.
Here.
Donald Pavlik.
Here.
Ted Roy.
Here.
Nick Rubino.
Here. Very good. We have all 7 counselors present this evening. Item 4, correcting and adopting the previous meeting minutes for April 24th, 2025, council meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to accept the meeting minutes as presented. Any discussion on the meeting minutes this evening? Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Christine Sippa.
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes. Meeting minutes have been adopted by a vote of 7-0. Thank you. Next up, item 5, financial reports. We are in receipt of the fire and EMS transfer in the amount of $210,000, street maintenance and repair fund transfer in the amount of $175,000, bond retirement from the general fund in the amount of $125,000, bond retirement from the safety services income tax fund in the amount of $97,270, and bond retirement from Tallmadge Reserve Incentive District TIF in the amount of $11,575, and an advance from the general fund to the Tallmadge Reserve Incentive District TIF in the amount of $11,575 to council on April 29th, 2025. The appropriations report, fund report, and revenue report for the period ending April 30th, 2025 to council on May 6, 2025. The April financial reports to council on May 6, 2025. The Tallmadge Rec Center profit and loss report for the period ending April 30th, 2025 to council on May 6, 2025. Income tax comparisons for the period ending April 30th, 2025 to council on May 6, 2025. The income tax by source report for the month of April to council on May 6, 2025. The revenue comparisons for major funds for the period ending April 30th, 2025 to council on May 6, 2025. And lastly, consolidated investment portfolio for the period ending April 30th, 2025 to council on May 6, 2025. Any discussion on the reports, or could I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the reports as presented.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the financial reports as presented. Any other discussion by council or administration? All right, I'll call the roll.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Christine Sipa.
Yes.
All right, thank you. The financial reports have been accepted by a vote of 7-0. Next item, item 6, we have public hearings. We do not have any public hearings this evening. Item 7, we have community input. This is the time in our meeting, if anyone in the audience would like to speak to an item that's not on the agenda this evening, you may come to the microphone, state your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. If you'd wish to speak on an item on the agenda, if you could wait for the committee to be opened on that specific ordinance, and then you could come to the microphone and speak to that. With that said, is there anyone that would like to come to the microphone and speak this evening? All right, thank you. Agenda additions, we have none this evening. So that brings us to our reports of administrative officers. We'll kick things off with Mayor Kilway.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to be really brief this evening. One of the big things we had going on the last couple days is we had the Tallmadge Elementary School third grade students came and visited us here at City Hall, and so they met with the mayor, the finance director, and the law director, and they also met with one of the classrooms. Were able to meet with Mr. Bolus so that he could be there with his daughter's class, and we basically just told him a little bit about what we do here at City Hall and how things are how the city operates and how local government decisions are made. They asked a lot of questions. They were very, very engaging, and they really gained a better understanding of civic responsibility. So they toured City Hall, they explored the council chambers and other areas where city business takes place, and so they really had a great hands-on experience for everyone involved. With just a little follow-up with my after-hours with the mayor last 2 weeks ago, I did have a couple residents that brought some concerns up, and we are in the process of working, the administration is currently working on addressing those issues. And just a reminder from the Office of Information Technology that on May 3rd, the Office of Information Technology conducted Tallmadge's semi-annual e-recycling event. And even though it rained, it was a very well-attended event with approximately 311 cars dropping off electronic waste. It filled 2 box trucks and partially filled a third one, and then it also filled a trailer full of TVs. So if you missed that event, they'll have another one in the fall, or you can also drop off your e-waste in the drop box that's in the Tallmadge Rec Center parking lot. And then finally, and we'll discuss this a little bit more with our ordinance as well, but the recognized heritage structure audit is almost complete, and part of that process, we need to establish a historic structure steering committee. And the purpose of this committee is to review the findings of the audit, make a determination on the current historic structures, which is section 1109. We need to determine the purpose, the criteria, and the maintenance and enforcement issues involved. And based on that information, determine and reassess the findings of the audit, And I need 2 representatives from council to serve on this steering committee. So at this time, I'd like to ask if there's any volunteers that have time during the day to come in and serve on the steering committee and just take a look at the process in general.
I would have time to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlik.
What days are you meeting?
I do not have we don't have the meeting dates set yet. So that would be something we could get Mrs. Hussing to maybe talk to you about.
I can do it as long as it's not a Monday or a Tuesday.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sipa. Perfect. I really appreciate your guys' help. And that's all I have this evening.
All right, thank you very much for your report. Next up, Director of Administration, Mr. Ignazito.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to provide a brief update. Ms. Poole, our economic developer, will be providing a monthly update, usually at the second meeting of the month. I can tell you that she's continues to hit the ground running and has conducted BREs. She's working hard at meeting all her colleagues in Summit County, counterparts on Team NEO, and also with Jobs Ohio. In regards to the agenda this evening, just to let you know, we held fact-finding with the FOP OLC on May 5th. During the Personnel Committee, we'll be requesting an executive session during the June 12th council meeting to discuss the fact-finding report. We anticipate having it by that time. That is ordinance 2024-76 and 2024-77. They're both at third reading, and we'll be requesting to recall them earlier than the current date was June 26th. Fact-finding with the IAFF is scheduled on May 13th, so I'll have an update for you at the next council meeting. And finally, City Hall will be closed tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for employee training. This is something that we'll do annually, and it'll be in fall. It'll start. We'll do it in September in the future, but this is employee safety training that we wanted to get started now, and we'll do that. This has been posted on our website on a splash screen, so if you've logged in, you can't help but see it. It's been up there for about 2 weeks, and then we've had a sign on the front door notifying people. The splash screen and the front door also notify anyone wishing to pay their utility bills that they can drop them off at the box in the south parking lot here in City Hall. Pending your questions this evening, that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up is our Director of Public Service, Mr. Rohr.
Good evening. I'd like to request that ordinance 2025-52 is passed at first reading, if that's possible tonight. Just a reminder that our pavement marking starts next week, May 11th. However, because of the weather, we allowed them to start on West Avenue last night and this evening, and that's to add that double turn lane on the inside lane eastbound, which we all talked about, which is an issue with people passing the whole queue to shortcut in front of them to get onto the circle faster. We've had several complaints about it, so everybody should be aware of that. Remember, they won't have flaggers out there because it's illegal to drive through the freshly marked paint that's put down. So, also on next Thursday, the circle starting at 6:30 will be narrowed right there between northwest and west. There's a storm sewer that needs replaced. It's right in front of the bulletin board, if you're wondering where it's at. The circle should not be closed, but do expect delays. Also, the Tallmadge water tower maintenance began. Remember, this was part of the EPA audit from 2 years ago that we needed to fix a couple of things on the tower and get it painted. And believe it or not, that's a guy up there, that's 112-foot height, so that's a pretty good lift. And it should take 4 to 5 weeks to get this work done and the outside of the tower painted. Lastly, the Maca pool filling was done. This is the second time. We had a pretty good leak. We had it. Compliments to Jessica Simons and the water department for figuring out where the leak was at, and they got it to stop. It's about 250,000 gallons to fill it. Remember, the pool opens May 24th, but there is a members-only sneak peek on May 23rd from 4 to 8, if anybody's interested. And that concludes my report for the evening, if there's any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, our Director of Finance, Ms. Raber.
No, I'm good.
Or-
That is for
sorry.
when the ordinance. I'm not going to do that now. We'll discuss that when the ordinance
Sorry,
comes up. Thank you.
My mistake. Ms.
That's okay.
Ms. Gilbride.
People confuse us all the time.
There's too many M's around here.
It's fine. Everybody should have received the April financial reports. Just to point out, we are seeing kind of our income tax slow down a little bit. Our withholdings are, while they are not significantly behind right now, we are seeing things kind of even out and not seeing the big growth that we had previously. So we're just continuing to monitor that right now. Right now, we're coming in about where we anticipated with our budget, so that's good. We're just not kind of seeing those big jumps. Really, the unusual one that we're seeing is those individual taxes come in. We've seen some unusually high individuals with large tax payments this year.
It was high in March. I was going to ask that question, but I saw that March was higher year-over-year comparison, but February was down.
Yeah, are you talking in?
The income tax comparison, the withholdings.
Yes, yeah, we're seeing fluctuation. If you kind of look at the one I kind of try to take a look at a little bit is the income tax by source. So the overall is a little bit skewed because there was a rate increase in the JED withholding. So our Tallmadge withholding right now is about 1% behind where it was last year. Again, not a huge deficit, and to be honest, the last several years, due to the amount of COVID and federal money that was being filtered through businesses and such, we were seeing a lot of businesses having unusually high withholdings because of bonus payouts and different things like that. So the 1% behind isn't giving me any angst, but we are just kind of seeing it as I expected this year. We're kind of seeing everything kind of level out and be more normalized than we have the last few years. We've had a lot of growth, but with very unusual circumstances. Many of you may have received, I just received it on Monday, a notification from the auditor's office that there was an audit report released. That was our federal single audit of our COVID money. The big audit is still underway. They're still working on that, and so that will be a second. But because we were only required to have a federal audit because of receiving the ARPA funding, they did special procedures and it didn't have to be as extensive. So that's why you're seeing a separate audit report being issued earlier this week. I believe I got it on Monday. So there will be another one. That's kind of the big one, and I'll keep everybody up to date on when we expect to receive that, but probably not till closer to the end of June, the beginning of July. Other than that, if anybody has any specific questions on any of the financial statements, I end my report.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, our Director of Law, Ms. Raber.
Thank you. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the police department for their hard work in doing the prescription drug take-back. They collected over 214 pounds of unwanted or unused prescription medication, which was then collected by the DEA as part of their national campaign for that. So again, thank you to the police department. I also wanted to report that we have gotten our first round of drafts back from the codifier. For those who may not be familiar, my department's been working very hard to comb through our entire codified ordinances to review for obsolete language, duplicative language, unclear language, and trying to really clean it up. This is a process that I've been undertaking with the various department heads. So the next step in the process is to meet with all of them again to go through these drafts and then proceed to make any further edits. So it's going to be several more months before it comes before council. And again, my plan is to present to council in a work session, and we'll work through all of those changes. But you have that to look forward to later this year. End of report.
All right, thank you very much. So that brings us to our reports of standing committees, council as a whole. I will turn it over to Councilwoman Gutman to open planning and zoning.
Thank you. I will call Planning and Zoning to order. We have before us tonight first reading of ordinance 2025-51, amending ordinance 77-2009, creating the list of recognized heritage structures, LRHS, to remove 12 Southwest Avenue. And does anyone like to comment on this ordinance?
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Gutman. So this is a piece of property that the city owns. It's 12 Southwest Avenue, and it does have some structural and environmental concerns in it. And so the Architectural Review Board did meet on April 29th, and they voted 4-0 to recommend to council that that entity be excluded on the recognized heritage structure list. And then, of course, this is one that we will have another piece of legislation as well, where we are requesting to be able to demolish that building because of its unsafe conditions. So this ordinance right here just takes it off of that recognized heritage structures list.
Thank you. And Mrs. Rayber, I'd just like to clarify, we're not setting a public hearing for this.
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yes, you do need to set a public hearing for that.
I have two different versions of the agenda here. The one in front of me
If
does
you,
not say that. so.
I believe it's listed in the ordinance itself.
Online, it is, it
It's-
does say it. So we'll set that public hearing then for June 12th, 2025 at 7:01 PM.
Thank you.
And at this time, are there any questions or other comments on the ordinance? Okay. And is there anything else for planning and zoning this evening? All right. Then I will just say thank you all, and I will close planning and zoning.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our Finance Committee with Councilman Pavlik.
Thank you. I open the Finance Committee this evening. The Finance Committee deals with budget, appropriations, reappropriations, bonds, franchises, investments, and expenditures. Currently, we have 5 ordinances in front of us tonight. First up, in first reading, first up is Ordinance 2025-50, setting a fee for electric vehicle charging stations and providing for immediate enactment. The director of this ordinance is Director of Public Service, Mr. Rohr. Mr. Rohr, do you have anything you want to add to this ordinance?
Yes, so we have to set a fee. We have 2 of the charging stations ready to go. They're not hooked up yet to the payment subscription. We do get a 1-year free trial on that, but we do need to set a fee before we hook that up. So this is all this ordinance is for. I'm recommending 45 cents per kilowatt. It's 38 cents is the Ohio average per kilowatt at these electric charging stations. 45 is the nationwide average. We're trying to recoup 100% of that 38 cents. So the subscription payment system charges 15% on each one of our transactions. So that's where the 45 cents is coming at. So we would make total 38 cents per kilowatt hour.
Were these the charging stations that were donated by
Serpentine.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And we still have one more to go, and that'll be at the parking lot by the bulletin board there across from the circle.
Got it. And it's credit card, and how often do we get that payment?
I believe so it's through a company called Flow
Yeah.
who uses that, so we would get a monthly.
Got it.
And so right now, this is for the rec center, Fire Station 2, and the parking lot at Tallmadge Circle. Are we responsible for the maintenance of the actual station itself?
No, Serpentini is for a few years.
And is that equipment the latest up to the latest technology standards and adaptable to future technologies? And
Adaptable to future, I can't say yes to that, but it is the most current.
okay.
What is the plan if the electric rates, as volatile as they've been, change? Would it be more proactive to put it on like a fuel surcharge type of program to where it's fluctuating with whatever the city's currently paying? Or are you more comfortable with this flat rate?
Right now, I was hoping to use that first-year trial to free to see how this even works. We might not make any money. They might not even be used. I mean, we don't know. And then I was going to come back to council in a year's time and maybe come back to this and see what everybody thinks. Because I don't know. It might not even be worth their time.
In my so the free 12-month subscription, just want to make sure I understand, the 15% fee, does that still get charged during
Yes,
this?
that still gets charged. So we get the subscriptions for each charging station for the year. So it's $2,000 for each charging station we have. And that's free. But they're
Okay.
still going to charge us the 15% on each transaction.
and then after the 12 months, we'll reassess at that time, and then those fees would then be reoccurring, and we would be responsible for those, not Serpentine?
Yeah, we might go up to maybe 60 cents. I don't know. I mean, we could be proposing someone else to cover that $2,000.
Okay, but we
fee.
can reassess.
Yep. That's what I like about the free year subscription.
Yeah.
Really gives us a chance to actually take a look at a baseline maybe and come back and say, what's going on with it?
The usage.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
This
And, oh, go ahead.
may be a premature question, but have we considered some kind of recourse for people who park and leave their car after they're charged? I mean, I can see maybe at the rec center or something, it being more of an issue, where you're there a little longer, but I know other places kind of run into that. The cars sit and block use for anyone else.
We can take a look at that. Sure, we can probably have a sign posted or something to have it.
If memory serves me correct, when you guys voted on this in 23, I think there was something where there was a city near Columbus that charged like a $45 fee. if
There
they're
are,
over for,
yeah,
like,
there
over
are
30
some
minutes.
cities that would have, like, once your car is charged, the charging knows it, and then it starts charging you for every, like, half an hour a fee so that you don't leave your car there. Again, I think, to Mr. Rohr's point, let's see what happens.
See what happens.
And if we need to institute a fee like that, we can talk with the vendor on how we incorporate that in. Because I'm sure they should be, hopefully they'll be able to give us that kind of data, like, how long were cars charging, how many unique cars were charging, that kind of
Yeah.
information. Because people have to subscribe to their system to get it. So we should be able to get that kind of data to make better informed decisions moving forward about how to manage them.
I'm sure the front desk people at the rec center probably should be made aware that someone might come in and complain if the car's sitting there.
Yes.
Last question I was just going to ask around the locations. What I recall in the legislation a few years ago, there were some additional locations on there, like I want to say like the library and other places. So is the intent to expand this any further than this, or you just use these 3 locations and then pilot it for a year and see?
Just use these 3 and pilot. I mean, let's just see how it goes. I mean, like I said, they might not even get used.
Right. I remember just a list of locations last time.
There was some others, but these were the ones that were the most ideal as far as having access to power.
I got a question. You're gonna have like little signs like on, 91 that says, electric station to the right or whatever like that to kind of advertise it a little bit? So people, if they drive by it, they're gonna, I can get my car charged over there.
With technology today, if you have an electric car, you know where all these where all
Yeah,
these charging stations are.
Our station will be listed in the Flow app, so
Okay.
people who have electric cars have all these things to find the charging stations.
Is there going to be a section in the financial reports that reports on the revenue coming in specifically to the chargers in the city, just so that everybody can keep an eye on what?
Yeah, I'll make a separate
Okay.
revenue line in the general fund for.
That'd be great.
For the revenue.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Sippa,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Okay, hearing that, ordinance 2025-50 passes with a motion of 7-0.
Thank you.
Welcome. Next up is ordinance 2025-52, authorizing the Director of Public Service to issue a request for proposal for professional qualifications for energy service providers for self-funding energy efficiency improvements on municipal buildings, and the mayor to enter into an agreement and providing for immediate enactment. Director of this ordinance is Director of Public Service, Mr. Rohr. Mr. Rohr, any
Yes, thank you. This is a request for qualifications from consultants to suggest and carry out energy-saving upgrades for the city buildings. If you think about City Hall here, the rec center, they're coming up on 20 years. All the HVAC units are all going to go out at the same time. We've already seen that with the chiller and some of the other big item ones. Think about the police department, there's a boiler and everything going on. So what this is going to do is it'll give us an opportunity to set in motion a plan to do the improvements and hopefully that it pays for itself through lower energy bills. Other cities have done this. City of Cuyahoga Falls and Fairlawn are the closest ones that have done this, and it's actually done well for them. And it's important. The reason why I asked this to pass first reading tonight was we'd like to know the numbers going in the 2026 budget. So that's really why we need to get this thing going.
Okay, so this is something that will be approved now, but it's a 26 event.
Yep. So we're just asking for qualifications, get the ball rolling, get the numbers from them, and go with it.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions from council? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Well, move to approve ordinance 2025-52 at first reading.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
A tie. Okay, we got a first in 2 seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Christine Sipa.
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Okay, hearing that, ordinance 2025-52 passes with a motion of 7-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up is ordinance 2025-53, authorizing the Director of Public Service to uniformly increase water rates and providing for immediate enactment. The sponsor of this bill is both Director of Public Service, Mr. Rohr, and Director of Finance, Ms. Gilbride. Would either of you like to comment on this ordinance?
Sure. I've actually put together a few slides to go over why the increases that we've proposed are what they are. I know they're rather large, but we have not had water rate increases in Tallmadge since 2012. So I know we've had a lot of sewer increases and people's bills are large, but the water fund is also, it's a separate fund, so we need to also make sure that we're funding that properly. First, I just wanted to show council over the last 5-6 years what our water fund has looked like. As you can see, there has been a kind of slow leak, per se, a slow leak of funds out of that fund. So we've seen that decline. And then from 2023 to 2024, we've seen a larger decline than usual. And then, of course, the decline predicted in the 2025 budget is also rather large. Additionally, we had presented in the 2025 budget, we have $5.6 million of infrastructure that needs to be repaired of broken water lines. While that is expensive, that's also costing us money because we're losing water and paying for water leaking out of pipes, water main breaks, those kind of things. These are also water lines that are under streets that need repaired and repaved. And we don't want to repair and repave roads and then dig them up to fix water lines. So I just wanted to present everybody with a snapshot of what our current rates are. As I stated, these have been the rates since 2012. Our minimum quarterly charge for water is $34 a quarter, which annualized is $136 a year. Our average residential bill is $72.65 a quarter, annualized $290.60. And then for our commercial and industrial customers, our average quarterly bill is about $175, annualized about $700. So I also wanted to kind of give a snapshot to give people an understanding, because all this gets, again, lumped to our citizens on one bill, and they think it's all for water, and it's really barely for water. It's mostly for your sewer bill. So to just give a snapshot on what an average, with our average water usage, looks like, the water portion of the bill is only 28%. As you can see, 2/3 of the bill is our sewer rates, and those have been increasing over time. And because our water fund was stabilized, we were not also increasing water rates while we were having these large sewer rate increases. So they weren't getting double hit at the time. We've been increasing, the bills have been increasing the last several years because of the increases in the sewer costs that we've been receiving, which is common throughout this area because most of us rely on Akron to process our sewer, and we've all heard, all the stories.
Is the sewer, has that been done like annually, those increases?
We did the last increase to sewer in 2023. The sewer fund right now looks pretty good, so I think we can kind of do a little shift gears here and let the sewer fund stabilize and run a little bit and absorb the increases we're getting. I think this year we had a 5% sewer increase, so enough. And sewer is a little different because there's water we pay for metered water that goes through. Sewer, we have a little bit of ability to control because we keep our sewer clean as the meters are running back through to Akron. So we have a little, I don't know what I say, do you agree, a little more control of our sewer than we do of the water usage?
We have more control over sanitary sewer meter.
Correct, than we do over our water
Water
meter,
meter.
because the water meter, but we keep our sewer meter clean, so the levels stay low and all those good things.
We have access to that
Yes.
meter, that we don't have access to the water meters. If that makes any sense.
So this chart, and I will forward this presentation to council so you can have it to review after
Thank you.
the presentation. And I know there's a lot of numbers on this, but basically as what I wanted to present was what the rate increase looked like for the quarter, and then annualized, and then what the new quarterly bill would be if that rate was instituted. So I think the average residential bill is kind of what everybody's interested in talking about. So as we said, $72.65. So the first year, it would go up $7.26 a quarter. That would be basically $30 additional a year for your water bill. The next year, it would go up $11.99, so that would be another $47, and you can all read. So that would bring our quarterly bill by the end of that period from $72.65 a quarter to $121 a quarter at the end of the 4-year rate increase. So that would essentially be $200 extra a year for a resident for water. So next, I have this fancy software that helps me do projections about our water. So this projection includes all of our operating and considers spreading the $5.6 million of water line projects out over the next, I think there were 5 projects, so the next 5 years. Each year we would do one of the water lines and issue debt through OWDA to be paid back over time. So if we do not increase the water rates, the black line, does this have a pointer? I don't know if it does or not. So if you look at the chart, that black line, that is our fund balance. So you can see, if we do these water line projects, we do not increase water rates, by about third quarter of 2027, we will run out of cash. The red line on here, that kind of dotted line along the bottom, that's our minimum fund balance policy. So our minimum fund balance policy says we should try to keep 25% of our operating cash available in case of emergencies or big things, and especially with water and sewer funds, having that kind of capital sitting around in case we had a major catastrophic water main break or things like that, we need to have that capital available. So this is just for everybody, kind of a snapshot. The bar part is the revenue, so that's our charges, sale of water, and like I said, I'll send this out so you can get more in depth look at it. But I just wanted to provide kind of that snapshot of where we would be in 2 years, basically, if we do not do a water rate increase.
And if memory serves me correct, in the budget, we budgeted a water repair at one of the streets. We are going to look to see which one is the worst and then make that decision.
That's incorporated in it, so.
Okay, and that's funded by debt.
Correct, that would be funded by an OWDA loan. So each one of those water projects, each year will be funded by a separate OWDA loan. That would be the process we would use to fund those. And then that debt service is considered in this projection also, that we would pay them back then over a period of time.
And then that dotted red line, which is our minimum fund balance, that's, you said policy, that's set by an ordinance, correct?
Correct.
And when was that set, do you recall?
That, I believe our minimum fund balance policy has been in effect since 2005. So we've been following that policy for quite a bit of time.
Is that something that, would you suggest needs to be adjusted?
I personally don't think it needs to be adjusted. If I did, I would present it. But if the finance committee would like to sit down and take a look at it with me and have a discussion about it, I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
If that black line represents the cash position target, if we stay at our current rates, is there a line on there that represents with these increases how it'll, gotcha, thank you.
Next slide. Great segue, thank you. Thank you. So here is what we look like with the increases that I presented. So as you can see, I know they look like significant increases, but they really keep us with our cash balance very close while we're doing these capital projects and in line with our policy. So we're not, during that period, going to be accumulating excessive amounts of funds. We will be bringing in enough to make sure we can operate and then do these water line projects that we need to do. You can see, like, right when you get to 2032, there's like a little bit of uptick. So I do believe that if we go out a little further, we will, because the debt service will start dropping off some, there will be some room for some growth. But this is the slide that shows what these rate increases and where they get us.
But it looks like when you get out to 29, even in 30, it looks like it dips below that line.
So the policy allows you to dip below it as long as you have a plan in place to come out of it. So it does barely go below it, and the policy allows for it. So the policy isn't so strict that it says you can never go below the fund balance. It just says that you need to have a plan in place if you do go below to have a revenue source to come out or achieve back. And I mean, ideally, we would be able to also, have other cost savings or things like that in between, and review the budget. If we were coming to a place where we were reviewing the budget and we were going to go too far below, obviously we analyze that with every budget. So we would modify our budget accordingly at that time.
When's the last increase that we have taken? What year?
2012.
12?
What was that increase?
That was a 3-year increase, and I believe they were like 877
Okay.
over those 3 years.
And prior to that, when was the last increase?
I don't know that. I would have to do some research to figure out before that grouping of increases what year they were increasing that from.
It'd be nice to know, because then you can track back to say that every 15 years, 12 to 15 years, we've had to make capital improvements on the water tower, the lines, that justifies the increase.
Yeah, I will do research to have that.
Because
information for you.
the thing that kind of worries and scares me at the same time is the fact that we're increasing 55% over 4 years, but we're not anywhere near going to be where we were 4 years ago, where we had that huge disparity between the black line and the red line. We're almost going to be, so it almost seems like we could be coming back in maybe a year or 2 years from now and saying, 15% wasn't right, and we need to increase it more. Or have another tranche in 29, 30 of increasing it again, another 10, 15%.
And that was sort of to my point is, obviously, we're taking larger chunks of rate increase every large gap. Would it be more beneficial to build in a growing minimal increase yearly so that not only does that fund grow, but we stabilize in it more and we don't take on these large.
Yes, I don't disagree with
increases.
you on that. So, because of the position of the water fund right now, I feel we need to act now on this so that we stabilize the fund. I would like to further, this software that I have, I would like to further analyze our current rate structure in totality and for our water and our sewer rates, and come back to council with a plan that includes something like that, that does have some increases that tie to the consumer price index or things like that, so we do not keep hitting our residents with these big rate increases time and time again, and kind of sitting on it and then moving forward with it.
I think
So-
that'd be super beneficial, and even if we set a cap to it to where, if the fund reaches a certain amount, that the increase will pause until it falls back below this amount, I think it would be helpful to the residents not to absorb that all at once.
Yes, I 100% agree. I'm just presenting this because I think we need to move forward with this for the water fund. I feel like the sewer is stable, but I would like to do further analysis and hopefully in a year or two from now, come back with really an overhaul of what our rate system is. Our sewer rates right now if you guys saw how many sewer rates we bill, you would pass out. So we want to kind of work on unifying that and making it a more uniform, stable system. And part of that is incorporating some kind of annualized index for these rates to grow by so that our residents are not hit so hard by the increases.
The only other question I have is in section 2 of the ordinance, it says that the Director of Public Services hereby authorized at his discretion to increase or decrease the water rates in direct proportion or in any lesser proportion to any increase or decrease in rate made by any government entity to the city on its users. I'm kind of, not that I don't trust Mr. Rohr at all, but wouldn't that be a better decision each time put before council in an ordinance so that this stuff is easily tracked, and that when you go to make a change, sort of like what you were talking about, of a general rate increase, it can be done through an ordinance rather than, because theoretically, Mike could just raise it 1% a year without any ordinance at that rate.
So we have similar language to that with our sewer fund, and what it lets him do is only pass on the increase we would get from Akron for our rate. So he can't, if Akron doesn't increase our rate, he can't pass on a rate increase. So he can only pass on those increases that we receive directly from the provider of our water or the processor of the sewer. It's similar language we have on our sewer fund. But I guess that would be up to you guys if you want to continue that language or if you would prefer to, do it differently. But that's what that means. So he can't just do 1% every year if Akron
So
doesn't
it's
give
only
us a.
proportionate.
Correct. It has to be directly proportionate to the rate increase they are charging us to purchase the water.
I guess it was nice that you put increase or decrease, because I don't see Akron
Right?
giving us a break.
Where's
Positive
that?
thinking, positive thinking.
Have we had to do that in the past, or have there been increases that we've been able to absorb up until this point?
So the water rates really have not changed much over time. Primarily, that's how we have passed on the sewer rates because of the processing increases we've gotten from, Akron and Summit County. So that's been the primary way we have actually increased rates over time, is with just passing on the cost of the sewer processing that we receive from those entities. So if they were to increase our rates 5%, then we would just increase our rates 5%. We in turn would increase the resident rate 5%.
And we did have to do that with the sewer.
Correct. We have done that multiple
And that-
times with the sewer.
That did come to council, though, before this current council. It wasn't this one, but it did come to council, I believe, previously, right? It wasn't.
You probably received a memo from the service director that he was increasing the rates, but we have not, this current council has not voted on sewer rates.
No, not this council, previous councils. It's been talked about when those sewer rates came and they were passed on.
I think it was just a discussion on how.
Just a discussion, not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying.
I have a question about the big green mountain of capital improvements.
Uh-huh.
Now, obviously, that's affecting the black line.
Yes.
When we get over that mountain and get those done, is there another one looming in the future? Is that take care of what we know are our outstanding problems? Like, what does it look like beyond there after we get that?
The same.
There's another
You'll see
mountain.
another mountain. All the water lines are at an age that they are failing. I mean, we have some failing faster, and that's the 5 that Molly brought up. But we have others that are going to start going just as fast, so.
And hearing that makes me feel a little leery about that black line just sitting right at the minimum
Yeah.
like that. It does, and I don't like to be the person saying, like, are we really increasing these rates enough? But,
I think we are.
okay.
I think what Molly has suggested is what we need to do. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow now.
And
It is, but over time, doing it over time, I like that it's, these smaller increases instead of how we got hit with like 30% in 2 years or something with the sewer. This is better to spread it out. If you guys are comfortable with that, sitting even under that minimum at certain points, it's just knowing you have all that out there.
And my intention would be at the end of this 4-year period to have the incremental rate stuff in place so that we are seeing that trend, to have enough in the wings to then move on. Because also, in addition to do these projects, I'm going to have to present to the Ohio Water Development Authority the ability to pay. Like, I'm going to have to show them projections that we have.
in this bucket,
this-
not city finances.
Correct. In
general
this,
fund,
yes,
in this
in the
bucket.
water fund bucket, I have the money to pay these water lines back.
You got to show cash flow.
Yes, so
Debt
I will
service.
have to show them that I have the ability to pay all this back. So this will, and I mean, I will be glad to, I can project this out longer. I just kind of was keeping it within like the, 5 year to 6 years beyond of the, capital plan that we currently have in place.
So when you're looking at the Green Mountain, that, I like that, Councilwoman Gutman. There were 5 projects that we had in the budget listed, and depending on what needed to get done, we had an allocation of a dollar amount. I think it was around 4 or 5 million, and that was going to be borrowed and all that. How many projects is this?
That's all of them.
That's all of them?
So that's all of them. They're just spread out over the next 5 years.
Okay.
Yes.
But
So
there's-
that's, those exact projects that are in the budget are the Green Mountain over that 5 year period.
Got it.
Just looking back on last time we had a rate increase was like 2012, and then there was like a 3-year projection or three-year implementation, you said, through like 2015. So between,
No, 2012 was the last year
Oh,
of
okay.
the increase.
okay, so from then on, looking at a projection, say it's 2012 right now, and just using that analogy again, the Green Mountain as of 2012, looking out to 2016, 2017, why wasn't a general rate increase explored at that point? Or was it? And how was the decision determined to just kind of let it marinate? And then all of a sudden now we're looking at,
Well, I mean, if you look at this chart, in 2022, our minimum fund balance was around 500,000, and we had almost $3.5 million in our water fund. So we really didn't need it during those times, but as I was stating, we were also having very large sewer rate increases.
So you wanted to offset?
We were not really, because we were having all the large sewer rate increases, and the water fund was stable, we were not making movement on.
Do you think you're going to have large sewer increases over the next 5 to 7 years?
Not over the next 4. I'll give you that.
Okay. Well, at some point in the next 2 weeks, Ms. Gilbride, I'd like to sit down with you and go over a lot of the stuff as chair of the finance, just to better understand it. Is there any other questions or comments on this? And I would recommend that this would go 3 readings for
Oh,
us to
absolutely.
digest all this information. Okay, with that, we will leave ordinance 2025-53 going into the second reading. Next up, ordinance 2025-55, authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids and the mayor to enter into a contract for the HVAC system services, appropriating necessary funds, and providing for immediate enactment. Director of this ordinance is Director of Public Service, Mr. Rohr. Mr. Rohr, any comments?
Yes, thank you. So we have 8 buildings that the city runs with 94 HVAC units in it, and each building has a different contractor. So it makes it difficult to get them all on the same page and to do the same maintenance and make sure we're following all the same protocol. So I'd like to go out to bid and get one contractor to do all 8 buildings is what the goal is.
Okay, is there any comments or questions at this time?
what does that service contract look like in terms of consolidating all the units and all the buildings? Is it mostly like a pricing benefit or?
So it'll give
like-
a yearly, quarterly, what they're supposed to do, so change the filters, and it spells out each unit, what they're supposed to be doing, and that we'll get a breakdown of each unit's cost in that bid.
Do you know, based on the several contractors we're using yearly on all the facilities, what the estimated cost using that is and what we're hoping to save? I mean, I know you can't tell the future, but.
I do not. Like I said, it's more of a simplistic thing is to make sure that they're all on the same page. I can't say that right now, that all the contractors are on the same page. And then it's confusing because you don't know which contractor to call at times when you get a 911, this unit's not working. So it's really to help us out manage it better. The cost probably would be about the same is what I'm going to guess.
I didn't know whether, depending on what the cost involved is, if it would be more beneficial to do it internal than even hiring it out.
No,
No,
that skill set, you would have to have an army of guys to
really.
do that.
Thank you.
Do you know why it is set up where each building has a separate service provider? Was there a benefit at the time that some of this was set up?
No, I think it was just the way it all, you had one building, fire station, you had one police station, hey, who are you going to call, and I think it was just the way it rolled out.
And if it switches and you're able to find one service provider, will they have the capacity to handle all 8 to your standards and
Yep.
satisfaction? You'd feel okay about that?
Yes, and then there would be an out clause, so if something's not going well with this contractor, we can get rid of them in 30 days.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions or comments on ordinance 2025-55?
Mr. Pavlik?
Yes.
I just want to say also, and theoretically too, by having the one contractor, theoretically, they will have a team of individuals dedicated to our account, so they will know exactly what has happened previously. If they come out for one issue, they'll know that, oh, wait, I was just here 2 weeks ago, and, X, Y, and Z had to be replaced, and we're not seeing that right now. So it's also to streamline things quite a
Yeah,
bit.
you got to find who did that building, and you got to call them, and you got to be,
And then sometimes with some of those contractors too, they have multiple technicians that come out, and one technician doesn't always know what the other technician did.
Got it.
So, and there's a lot of, differences in each different HVAC system. So
would this be like, this wouldn't be like an essay coming out, would it?
It could be.
it
Could be.
we-
Okay.
We don't know yet. Yep.
All right, any questions or comments on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, you please call the roll?
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolles.
Yes.
Christine Sipa,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes. Okay, with that, ordinance 2025-55 passes with a motion of 7-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up and final is ordinance 2025-56, authorizing the mayor to receive funding from the Summit County Land Reutilization Corporation Community Development Matching Grant Fund, for the demolition of the structure deemed blighted at 12 Southwest Avenue, and authorizing the mayor to enter into all necessary agreements pursuant to the Tallmadge demolition program, appropriating funds and providing for immediate enactment. The sponsor of this ordinance is Mayor Kilway. Mayor Kilway, any comments?
Just basically what I alluded to earlier when we discussed taking it off of the historic structure list. This building is in very, very poor shape. It's structurally unsound. There's some environmental issues as well, and it's in the best interest for us to demolish it. And the city did receive a 50%, a grant that would cover 50% of the cost of the demolition, up to $9,785.
And this is common ground, right?
Yes.
Where common ground was. And I would imagine that the environmental issues stem from the gas station that's being next.
No, there was another issue, and that was the reason why On Common Ground had to leave.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and I have all the reports in here if you'd like to see them too. But I do believe we discussed this
We did.
almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was
when
almost
you-
a year ago
Yep.
that all this started, so.
Yep. Okay, any comments or questions on ordinance 2025-56?
Mr. Pavlik, I would just think that it would be wise to keep this one tracking at the same time as the other ordinance, are kind of hand in hand companion ordinances. So maybe just giving it a first reading tonight and then
Got it.
having the final vote after we have the public hearing on June 12th.
Sounds good. Okay. Okay, with that, we will leave ordinance 2025-56 going into second reading at next council meeting. And that concludes all the ordinances tonight under finance. Is there anything else that needs to be brought forward before Finance Committee? Hearing none, I'll close committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlik. Next up, we'll move on to our Personnel Committee with Councilwoman Sipa.
Thank you. The Personnel Committee deals with personnel, labor relations, insurance claims, rules of council, and state statutes. Ordinance 2024-75 was tabled until June 26, 2025. Will that be remaining tabled?
Yes, 2024-75 we'd like to remain tabled till June 26th.
Perfect. Okay. Ordinance 2024-76 tabled until June 26, 2025, also remaining.
We would like to have that recalled on June 12th for an additional third reading and a vote. And I would also request an executive session prior to that vote to update council on a fact-finding report. We anticipate receiving the fact-finding report prior to June 12th. And then we will provide a recommendation to the council based on the findings of the based on the fact-finding report.
Do we need a motion to change this to June 12th? Okay. Do I have a motion to change to June 12th?
I will make that motion to change ordinance 2024-76 until June 12th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a quick point. I will not be in attendance the meeting of June 12th. Just taking a quick pulse on attendance. Because I believe Mr.
I'll be here, yeah, I'll be here.
Mr. Pav will be here, Ms. Sipa will be here. Mr. Roy? Okay, I know Ms. Gutman will not be here.
That said, I do believe the intention is that someone will be sitting in the
Yeah.
chair.
Right.
I will not be here.
Okay, so we have confirmed, as of right now,
Family calendar. I'll be here.
so as of right now, on June 12th, we have 5 counselors confirmed attendance as of right now.
And, go. Just to clarify, when we get the report, we will have 7 days from the date that we receive the report to vote. Council will have 7 days to vote on it. If council does not vote on it, it is assumed accepted by council. As with the FOP OLC, this would be for the patrol officers, it would be assumed accepted. So we, because of the timeline set up by fact-finding, once we receive that report, we have a timeline. So he asked us for our council dates, and just clarifying, so maximum attendance is important on that date.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Sipa,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Okay. Motion to change the date for ordinance 2024-76 to June 12th, 2025 passes unanimously. Ordinance 2024-77 tabled until June 26, 25. Is that remaining that?
We would also request that council recalls it on June 12th for a vote and an executive session prior to that vote for a update on the fact-finding report. And this is for the patrol sergeants and police lieutenants.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to change ordinance 2024-77,
I'll
tabled
second.
until June 12th, 2025.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Christine Sippa.
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2024-77, changing to June 12th, 2025, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Are there any additional items for personnel? Hearing none, I close personnel.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we will move to our Safety Committee. I'll hand it over to Councilman Rubino.
Thank you. I call the Safety Committee to order. The Safety Committee deals with disaster services, communications, fire, and paramedics, police, and health. We currently have 2 ordinance on the agenda for tonight. Ordinance 2025-48, Exhibit A, Tract Exhibit A, amending sections 705.03, alarm user responsibility, and 705.99, penalty of the Tallmadge codified ordinances and providing for immediate enactment. Any comments, Mayor Kilway?
This is at third reading. We have already had, significant discussion on this. And Captain Eichler did come to the last meeting and give everyone a very detailed explanation as to why we're doing this. Again, most of these alarms that the police respond to are commercial, and they account, they're commercial entities and commercial alarms. And, there's a couple of them that are having repeated false alarms, and this is just a way to help get their attention, to have them get the issues corrected.
Is there any questions from council?
I just have one question. We have been provided a lot of detailed information. If
Right.
perhaps 6 months from now, we could get like an updated report on the alarm calls and if this is having any type of impact that we're hoping it will, that would be appreciated.
Okay, we could do that. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-48.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second. Can you call the roll, please?
Christine Sippa.
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
With that, the ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Our second ordinance for tonight is first reading of ordinance 2025-57, appropriating one Ohio opioid settlement funds for naloxone to be available in city parks and providing for immediate enactment. Sponsors of this are Finance Director Gilbride and Law Director Raber. Do our sponsors have any information you'd like to share with council?
So the city of Tallmadge participated in the opioid litigation and received amounts of money pursuant to that litigation that's paid over a period of time as part of the settlement. Those funds are restricted for their use. They can only be used for certain things, primarily dealing with opioid remediation or prevention or harm reduction. So we have encountered a new legislation with the state of Ohio under House Bill 47, which requires that we install AEDs in all of our parks. And so we had been talking about the possibility of putting naloxone in the park, and part of the concern was that you have to have electrical units to be able to keep them in temperature-controlled containers, because if it's extreme heat or cold, they will not function correctly. So what we are looking to do is to house both the naloxone and the AEDs in the same units and have the electric installed. And being able to do this will be able to be a harm prevention strategy so that if an emergency arises, people can call 911. There will be placards by each of these boxes that indicate what they need to do. They will be given the locks box, so it will be locked to prevent tampering, and so those items are there and available for use in order to access that and be talked through what to do for the 911 dispatcher. So that is what this is about.
I had a question. Just regarding the temperature control, is there historical tracking or monitoring that will be implemented to track if, for example, there's a power outage or the unit loses power or whatever may happen, there's a malfunction, that there's a point in time where it goes above or below the required temp to maintain?
That I don't know. I'm gonna have to turn that over to the service director with the exact how they're built.
No, there's no way of tracking that. They're just hooked up with electric so that they can have that temperature control. They lose power, We'd have to probably keep an eye on that and go retrieve it and put some new in, I guess, is what we're gonna have to do. But no, there's no way of knowing. We just have to keep an eye on when the electric goes out.
Okay, I was just curious of the risk of like, do you have like an hour to respond, or is it days, you know? 'Cause
I don't know enough about it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bowles.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is actually a really good point. But there are thermostats. I don't know the technical terms. I don't remember, but little trackers you can put in there that record the temperature. And if you have an outage, you can go back and like download their data and look at what the temperature range was. This is from like back in the days when I worked in a lab. So I'm sure the technology is even better now, but it is out there. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know medical spas and areas, like, they get audited frequently, just to ensure that as they're treating patients, that, you know, that there was no potential health threat.
We'll look into that.
Is there any question of if the city could be held liable or be exposed if, let's say the temperature went too low or too high, or the product expired, or it was a bad batch, or something happens that somebody uses that and it hurts them beyond, because they're not a medical professional using it, they're not an EMS or a doctor. Are we worried about that at all?
So I think the answer is no, but we can certainly confirm, but the Summit County Health Department was the one who had originally brought this, so it has been a little while now, but we had a opioid reduction forum here in City Hall, and they were hoping to get these into more public locations, and we had talked about that then. So they seem to think it's a good idea, but we can certainly pursue that particular question. I know that, again, from that training, that if you use it on someone and they are not actually experiencing an overdose, that it should do no harm to them. So I don't know if that would be the same if the drug wasn't as effective. So we can look into that, and I think those are all good questions, and we can come back to you next meeting and see if we can get some answers from the health department.
Yeah, I would just be interested, obviously, there's Good Samaritan laws and stuff like that that protect somebody from trying to save somebody. Just President Bolus's point, you know, if something were to happen and we didn't know that stuff fluctuated in temperature or froze or got super hot and the stuff wasn't good anymore, I don't know what the limits are for the stuff. I would just be interested to know if that would affect, or if it didn't save the person's life because of that, are we liable for that?
I would think the answer to that is no. Some kind of harm prevention that might be available is better than none. So, and we still, again, they have to call 911, so that will immediately dispatch, emergency services too. So I think again, we're trying to take the extraordinary measure, so I think the answer is no to that. But I am curious about the temperature control issue, and we can certainly look at that. And I will reach out to the health department and see what they have to say about that.
Have we had any calls to our park systems, say in the last year or two, for these kind of instances that you're aware of?
I do not believe that we have seen any number of calls. I'm not aware of them. We can also look into that. But again, that doesn't mean that it's not a potential issue. And so having this available, again, it can't do any harm. So.
The funds for this grant, was this just sort of what the health department recommended, or did we explore other options to use this money? Could the money have been used for, say, the school system to educate about drugs and opiates and stuff like that, or was this really what they thought was the best, or did we search for other options?
So there are other possibilities, and there are other additional funds that are available. Again, this is an opportunity to kind of meet the requirements of both the Ohio House Bill 47 and provide a harm prevention strategy. So that's why we thought it might be a good use of the funds to be able to do this both at the same time.
We actually did use some of these funds previously to help the high school. They had requested them to fund a counselor in the school. They stopped that program, but we did help them with some of these opioid funds already to do that.
And that was not One Ohio opioid funds, but they were a different settlement that they had.
23, I think, yeah.
Could those funds, are these like recurring funds?
They are recurring, but not forever. So they're for a specified period of time. We do get funds every year. Currently, we have $75,000. So there's still funds available. The One Ohio opioid funds have kind of more stringent requirements than some of the other ones we got directly that weren't through One Ohio. So we intend to explore more opportunities with the funds, but this came up with the AED, so this was an easy kind of add-on of something to do with those funds.
Great. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Just incidentally, with these AED boxes, as soon as you open the box, it automatically calls 911. So if someone, is having an overdose reaction and
I don't think you can open the box
until you call 911,
It's got to call 911 first.
you have to call 911?
Yeah, you have to call 911, so people can't just get in the boxes. You have to actually call 911,
Get
and
the
the
code.
dispatchers will give you a code to get into the box.
Great.
And that's designed, that way there may be some, as you indicated, that are internal that have more security, but because they're out in the parks, they are expensive units, we don't want them to be vandalized or stolen or anything like that, so.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
I'm assuming the code gets scrambled, like randomized in some way, like you issue a code, it's not the same code, like yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Anything else? All right, hearing none, and because there were some questions asked, probably best to put this to second reading and go from there. Is there anything else anybody would like to ask to the Safety Committee or any other discussion? Hearing none, I close committee.
Thank you very much. Next up is our Community Issues Committee. I'll turn it over to Councilman Roy.
I'd like to open up community issues. Community Issues Committee deals with Parks and Recreation, Civic Affairs, and liaison between Council and Recreation Board and Intergovernmental Affairs. We have no legislation tonight. Is there anybody have any comments or anything?
I just had one question. How is the Sheets project tracking? I received some calls recently with some of the traffic congestion caused by some of the tank installs and construction. Are they on track, on schedule with the build out?
They're on track. I mean, they lost some days with that weather, but yeah, they're doing fine. We have not gotten any complaints in a while on it, really.
Okay.
So-
Can you remind me the target date for that?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay, it was a fall,
Yeah, it won't, yeah.
but there was some road work associated to the turn lane.
They have to widen it, yes,
Okay.
so.
Anything else? If not, I'll close committee.
All right. Next up, we'll move to our, did you have something? We'll move to our Public Service Committee with Councilwoman Epstein.
Thank you. I call Public Service Committee to order. The Public Service Committee deals with streets, highways, sidewalks, buildings, and improvements, water, sewer, electricity, gas, energy resources, recycling, waste, and trash. First reading this evening, we have ordinance number 2025-54, authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids and the mayor to enter into a contract for demolition of 111 West Avenue, appropriating necessary sums and providing for immediate enactment. The sponsor of this ordinance is Director of Public Service Rohr. Would you like to add any comments to this?
Yes, thank you. So this is the old YWCA, the GTF, and right now, all the runners that were in there are out. There is still storage of equipment being used for the Little League, but they are no longer allowed to use that facility as of April 30th. So everybody's been out of that. Right now, we're starting the environmental cleanup, hazardous waste, so that's removal of all light bulbs and ballasts and everything. So that's we're getting contractors lined up to start that, and then we'll go out to bid and hopefully get the building down after Circle Fest would be the time to start that.
Are there any questions or comments from council on this?
Just asking, I know there was Ms. Gutman and a few others were on a committee with the Little League, late last year, and then I know we had a meeting in January. Were there any follow-up discussions or planning? Like, did we hear back from Little League at all on kind of any proposals or solutions to like short-term versus long-term? I know it's a tough situation.
So it's seasonal. So they're more worried about the fields and playing games right now. So the discussions with Little League have been about batting cages and so I'm sure as we come out of the season, we'll start hearing more. But there again, they can run our facility at the rec center, and we've offered that to them. So and they get the 50% rate since they're a local group. So. But no, to answer, nothing has been discussed as far as a new building.
Okay.
All right. Is there a motion?
I'll move to adopt ordinance 2025-54.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes?
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Sippa,
Yes.
Ordinance 2025-54 has passed with a vote of 7-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have no additional ordinances or resolutions before us. Do we have any additional items for public service?
I have one.
Yes.
September 4th is when Sheetz is supposed to open.
That was fast.
Yeah, that was fast, so.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent work. Hearing no other discussion or no other items, I close committee.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, item 11, reports of special committees, Council Operations Committee. I have no report this evening. Any comments or questions on that? All right, moving on to item 12, announcements. just want to thank Councilwoman Gutman for her service to our community and to City Council, and just genuinely wish you well in your future endeavors into Columbus.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Bolus? I would also like to thank Mrs. Gutman very much for all of her service to the city, for stepping in when I went to an at-large position and taking over my favorite ward in the whole city. You've served it extremely well. Your insight, your knowledge, and your thinking outside of the box has truly been inspirational, and you're going to be greatly missed. Thank you for all your service. I appreciate it.
Very missed.
And I will miss you all.
All right. That concludes our meeting this evening. I will call for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Christine Sipa,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
It is now 8:30 PM, and I adjourn the meeting. Thank you.